This is SSPTV News, brought to you by Samsung Productions and the Hazleton Standard Speaker.
A representative from PennDOT will explain why you may need to start carrying around your passport. Happy New Week, everyone. I hope you're having a great day. It is a day when we remember the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I'm Lisa Sugarton tonight for Ken Cara. This is your place for 24 hours of your hometown news and information from SSPTV and the Hazleton Standard Speaker. Here's today's information. State police have arrested a man they say used social media for alleged sex crimes against children. State police out of Troop N in Hazleton are currently investigating numerous sexual crimes against juveniles. Troopers tell us the 20-year-old Kiefer McKenzie near Najir Anese of the Hazleton area has been arrested in Luzerne and Carbon counties as a result of that investigation. State police allege that he used accounts bearing his name as well as several aliases. After establishing contact through seeming harmless conversation, the suspect then allegedly solicited new photos from the females. Troopers say he would then threaten to disseminate the photos and offered to delete them in exchange for sexual acts. State police believe there may be additional minor victims. Anyone with information is asked to call state police at 570-459-3890. Well, state police are investigating a fatal crash early this morning in Hazel Township. It happened just after 2 a.m. on North Church Street at the intersection with 23rd Street. Troopers found the vehicle sideways into a utility pole with the driver trapped inside. The driver, whose name has not yet been released, was taken to Lehigh Valley Hospital, Hazleton, where he was pronounced dead. State police say it appears speed may have been a factor. Some state lawmakers have sent a letter to Governor Tom Wolf expressing their concern over the proposed closure of 2 prisons in Pennsylvania. State Representative Gerald Mullery, who represents the 119th Legislative District, says members of the State House of Representatives Northeast delegation are showing solidarity by sending the letter to the governor, expressing their dismay at the announcement. Mullery says that members want to delay any decision about the closings until public hearings are held so that those affected can testify. 14 lawmakers have signed the letter. The pending closure date is January 26th. Changes will soon take effect that involve what you can use for identification. We have details on those changes and what they mean for you. James May, the district press officer for PennDOT, joins us once again here today with some very important information regarding Pennsylvania driver's licenses being used as ID. There are some big changes coming that people need to be aware of, so we're glad that you came in so you could explain it all to us. First of all, how did this all come about that we cannot use the Pennsylvania driver's license as we used to?
Well, this is a question that we're getting asked quite a bit. A lot of people are seeing this. We have signs posted at the DMV announcing that this is happening. Essentially, let me back up and kind of give a background on what has happened and how we got to this point. Shortly after September 11th, when we had the attack on our nation, the federal government came along and said, we want to implement some stronger laws in regard to things like driver's license. There were a number of aspects to what they wanted to do. Things like they wanted people to no longer be able to renew your driver's license online. You can't do a change of address online. When you go in for your license, you would not be able to have it issued right there. It had to come from a centralized location. Just a whole lot of changes that the federal government said this is part of a Real ID Law Act, and that was implemented by the federal government, Washington, D.C. The state government came along and they had some concerns with that law. A lot of their concerns had to do with the cost that would be incurred by the state when you start doing all this stuff, the additional lines at the DMV. Right now you can do a driver's license renewal online, or you can do your change of address online. Under the new law, you would have to physically take your birth certificate and your social security card, drive down to the DMV every time you move. So for someone like my son, who's a young kid moving every 6 months or so, every time you would have to go in. And they looked and they said, it's going to be too much for the lines, too much for the cost. We are not going to participate in Real ID. They also had some concerns with the whole concept of an ID card being issued by the central government, by the federal government, and there were some kind of the big brother concerns. So both agencies, the federal government had some legitimate reasons why they were doing what they were doing. The state government had some legitimate reasons for doing why they were doing, but the state government came along and they passed a law that said we will not participate in Real ID. Pennsylvania is one of 9 states that came along and said, we are not going to take part. We will have nothing to do with Real ID. And the Pennsylvania state legislature even passed a law that says, PennDOT, you may not do any changes to your driver's license that will comply with Real ID because we are not going to be a partner and a participant with this. So PennDOT right now is in the middle. And what is taking place now, because of that, because we are not participating in Real ID, the federal government is coming along and saying, okay, the new laws say unless you have a driver's license that is Real ID compliant, you no longer can go into federal buildings unless you're going in for some sort of assistance. But you can no longer go into federal buildings. This would mean like a military base, a nuclear facility, any federal building you can no longer go in unless you have a driver's license that is Real ID compliant or a federal issued, like a passport, something along those lines. That's going to be taking place this month. That portion of the law will go into effect. A year from now, in January of 2018, the portion of the law that I think a lot of people are concerned about is the portion where it says you can no longer fly, even commercially, you cannot fly on an airplane unless you have an ID card that is Real ID compliant. That means when you fly to Florida to go to Disney World or you fly to visit Grandma and Grandpa in Iowa, you would have to have, if you're a Pennsylvania resident, you would have to have some form of ID that is issued by the federal government. That's usually a passport or a photo ID type of thing from the federal government. So that's where we are right now. And it's really in the hands of the legislature, who has to come into some sort of agreement with Congress. And the two of them need to work this out. And until they do, really there's nothing that PennDOT can do. And in fact, we are ordered by state law to do nothing until it's resolved.
So what's the best advice for people? Because at the end of this month, there will be some changes that will probably impact people.
Well, especially if you're somebody who needs access to a federal building. I've been contacted already by some truck drivers who deliver iced tea, but they deliver it to federal buildings and a nuclear facility. I would begin the process right now. You can go online and you can see a list of the acceptable forms of ID. You would have to go to the same process that you would do for a passport. You would have to get a passport or a passport photo. Do that sooner rather than later because it does take a while for that whole process to get processed. And so make sure you do that right away. And between now and next year, we're really hoping that the legislature and Congress will be able to work something out to get this whole issue resolved.
All right, it's complicated, but best advice is to get an ID so that you're covered in all aspects. And if there are any changes, of course, you'll be back to give us an update on what's transpiring with all this.
I will, yes.
All right. James May from PennDOT. Well, today we celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day. It's an American federal holiday commemorating the birthday of the slain civil rights leader. The holiday is observed on the third Monday of January. King's birthday is January 15th. Dr. King once asked, "What are you doing for others?" As a result, many Americans take part in community service projects today in answer to that question. And tonight we have a happy ending. We told you last week about Oliver the tiger cat with green eyes who went missing for several days. Well, tonight Oliver's owners and everyone can breathe a sigh of relief. Oliver has been found safe and sound. Good news, definitely. Well, coming up on SSPTV News, we'll talk about Joe Madden and the Chicago Cubs' trip to the White House. And Ron Marchetti has his trivia treats. And after this break, we have more Hazleton Area High School District news from the president of the school board, Marie Kay.
This is SSPTV News, brought to you by Samsung Productions and the Hazleton Standard Speaker.
Well, 1 week from today, a new 8-week cycling workshop is coming to Core Fitness in Hazleton. The workshop includes weekly weigh-ins, initial and final measurements, menus, shopping lists, fitness and food journals, and amazing friendships. The 8-week cycling workshop with Carolyn kicks off January 23rd. For more information or to sign up, call Core Fitness at 570-455-7818 or stop in at 711 West Broad Street in Hazleton. I am pleased to welcome once again to our studios Marie Kay, the president of the Hazleton Area School Board. Last time you were here, we talked about the fact that you had been on the board previously in 1999 to 2000, and now you're back at the helm of the school board in the middle of a new term. And the budget is coming up already. We're in a new year, and we have a new budget that you already have to prepare for. I know June 30th seems like a long way off, but a lot of things impacting it. So I know some of the items that were a problem last year, I guess we'll kind of take a look at some of those. Do you think busing is over and done with? Do you think busing will have any impact related to the budget or any busing concerns at all for the new year?
I mean, I think that there's always concerns. Mr. Fume is in charge of transportation. That's his expertise. Everyone seems to have been put on committees that that they have an experience with. So since he is the director up in Lackawanna County of busing, he is the best person for that committee. I would ask him to come on and discuss the busing issues. I hope that we have everything settled. It seemed to have been the perfect storm last year. You know, we were given the information that the routes could be changed, they would be in place. There was never a question for any of us to say we didn't believe that. We were supposed to save money, and it ended up where it really ended up in a messy situation. And for that, I think every board member is truly apologetic, but once we started the ball rolling, there was no going back. We just had to work through it.
Well, as you said, hopefully no more problems with that. I know one of the concerns from last year, and it was a real tough decision, going to half-day kindergarten. People are wondering, will that stay the same? Will that change? Are you looking at that for the budget?
I think that there's some board members that would like to revisit that, and if that's the case, then we need to do that because everyone has an important say in, you know, how we run this board. So if that is, I'm not really sure that at this point we could put that back in. I guess we'll have to get with administrators and see what the outcome was from the half-day kindergarten. We would need to hire like 18 more teachers, and I'm not sure that the budget is going to be able to sustain that kind of numbers.
It's a tough job. I don't know how you how you get down to where you're supposed to be with such a large budget, so many buildings to run, all these different things. People had, I know, talked about the success of the Arts and Humanities school that's inside Hazleton Area High School. And I know they had hoped that maybe that would become separate, like the STEM school down in the valley, but that would be a major cost as well.
That I do not see happening right now, to be honest. I'm not sure where we would put them. We don't have any money to build new buildings or buy new buildings, so everything has to stay where we are. And with the numbers keep going up every year, and that's part of the issue is we keep getting more and more children to educate, but we're running out of room. So that being said, we're going to have to think outside the box and come up with more creative ways to give a quality education to the kids. I do know that Mr. John had some very good ideas last year, and I know he's working on them, you know, with me this year. And hopefully, you know, with the educators that are on the board, we'll be able to come up with some creative things so that the kids really do not miss out on getting a quality education.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Please keep us up to date on how the budget process processes. Let us know how things go and if there are any major changes that you see coming ahead in the future.
Yeah, we definitely will. Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. Marie Kay, President of the Hazleton Area School Board.
Time now for weather on SSPTV News.
Well, the sun was out today. You're looking at it from the Pocket Park in downtown Hazleton. Time now for our local forecast from the National Weather Service. Tonight, there is a chance of Tonight, it's going to be cloudy with a low getting down to 32 degrees. Then moving on to our 4-day outlook, it looks like we have a 100% chance of rain tomorrow, mainly after 8 a.m. Tomorrow's high getting up to 38 degrees. For Tuesday night, that percentage drops to 90%, mainly before 2 a.m. with an overnight low of 38 degrees. On Wednesday, there's a chance of showers, cloudy with a high near 41 degrees. Wednesday night, areas of drizzle before 1 a.m., otherwise mostly cloudy with a low of 31 degrees. Partly sunny on Thursday with temperatures near 40 degrees. Mostly cloudy Thursday night with a low of 30. And on Friday, a partly sunny day, a high temperature again of 40 degrees. Friday night, there is a chance of rain, possibly snow, mostly cloudy skies with an overnight low of 32 degrees. Time now for our Pennsylvania midday winning lottery numbers. Pick 2, 84. The pick 3 is 386. The pick 4, 8453. And the pick 5, 12765. Good luck if you played. We have sports coming right up after the break.
Time now for sports on SSPTV News.
Well, let's start the week in the pool at the Schuylkill League Sprints. This is a neat event that's held like a dual meet, but does not include diving and the 500-yard freestyle. It's all about the short distances and speed. 3 local swimmers lit the water on fire in Pottsville. Marion's Katie Krasinski broke the meet record in the 50 backstroke with a time of 29.24 seconds. She also won the 50 free in under 30 seconds. I can finish a 7-layer burrito in about 25 seconds. That's Ken Kara writing that, if you find that impressive. Mahanoy area's Reggie Crawford broke the 50 breaststroke record and came very close to setting another one in the 50 free. He'll just have to settle for a gold medal in that this year. Tamaulipa's Rebecca Kanaski scored her 1,000th point Friday, and that won 3 events on Saturday, the 100 IM, the 50 breaststroke, and was part of the winner 200 medley relay team. Megan Llewellyn won the 50 free 100 breaststroke and was a member of the winning 200 medley relay team as Hazelton area beat Williamsport. The boys took a loss. Jeff Planutis had a couple 2-3 Jeff jams, 22 points, and had a few threes as Hazelton area beat Dallas. In boys basketball on Friday, they have a tough one today in Delaware against the #1 team in the First State Mount Pleasant. Michael Joseph dropped in 22 in a loss for Mahanoy area. MMI lost to Jim Thorpe over the weekend. Marion won a non-league game behind Brandon Mohammed's double-double, 18 points and 12 rebounds. Notre Schuylkill fell to Notre Dame East Stroudsburg. Kirsten Jones had a doubles over the weekend. She put up 11 points and 11 rebounds in a win over Jim Thorpe for Tamaulipa, and then 18 points and 15 rebounds in a win over Kutztown. Marion split a couple games, and Emily Schad was impressive in both scoring a combined 34 points. That loss came in overtime for the Phillies. Mahanoy area stayed unbeaten on the year with a win over Schuylkill Haven. Jim Thorpe topped North Schuylkill. Shenandoah Valley split 2 games. Meanwhile, Penn State Hazelton went to double overtime to knock off Penn State New Kensington. Jacob Solano had 37 points in the win. Jordan Singletary had 19 points and 21 rebounds in their loss to Fayette. The PSU Hazelton women scored 2 wins. They are now 9-2 overall and 4-1 in the Penn State University Athletic Conference. In wrestling, Chris Lasecki, Jason Breimeyer, and Jeremy Aquinto had pins in Hazelton area's wins. Colin Fagley went 5-0 at the Lackawanna Trail Duels for Mahanoy area. The Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins won 2 more games over the weekend to up their winning streak to 7. They are at Syracuse today and Hershey on Wednesday. Well, Joe Madden and the World Series champion Chicago Cubs made their visit to the White House today. Long before Madden was rubbing shoulders with the president, he was playing baseball with a future congressman in Hazelton. This is the Young Men's Polish Association fast-pitch softball team in the mid-70s. There's Madden second from the right in the back row, and that is United States Congressman Lou Barletta second from the right in the front row. Maybe Madden can get some of those YMPA jerseys printed up for his team to wear on their way to a road trip in 2017. Ron Marchetti is our resident sports historian, and here he is now with this week's Trivia Treats.
Monday, January 16th, the middle of the month already. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Trivia Treats. On this day in 1959, 58 years ago, African-American rookie forward Elgin Baylor refused to play in a game for the Minneapolis Lakers against the Cincinnati Royals at a neutral site in Charleston, West Virginia, after the segregated hotel that was hosting the team refused accommodations to Baylor and teammates Boo Ellis and Ed Fleming because they were black. Without Baylor, who's averaged 25 points per game during the 1958-59 season, the Lakers lost to the Royals 95-91. Both Ellis and Fleming played in that game. Also on this day in 1980, in the worst performance by a man in a mask since Adam West played Batman, 22-year-old goaltender Jim Stewart of the Boston Bruins, no relation to Jimmy Stewart the actor, allowed 5 goals on only 9 shots while playing just 1 period in his NHL debut. Stewart stunk, giving up 3 scores in his first 3 minutes. At the end of that first period, Stewart was replaced by another rookie. Stewart never played another minute in an NHL game. Also on this day, in 1967, 50 years ago, In the very first Super Bowl, the Green Bay Packers walloped the Kansas City Chiefs 35-10 before a crowd of 61,946 at the Memorial Coliseum in Los Angeles. The game failed to sell out despite tickets prices ranging from $6 to $12. It was telecast nationally on 2 TV networks, with Ray Scott, Jack Whitaker, and Frank Gifford announcing for CBS, and Kurt Gowdy and Paul Chrisman for NBC. Finally, 48 years ago, in 1969, the New York Jets of the AFL stunned the NFL's Baltimore Colts 16-7 in Super Bowl III at the Orange Bowl in Miami. The first 2 Super Bowls resulted in one-sided victories for the NFL, with Green Bay taking both over the Chiefs and Raiders. But this game was different. The Colts were 13-1-0 during the 1968 season, outscoring their competition 402-144 and defeating the Browns 34-0 in the NFL championship game in Cleveland, with the Jets' inferior 11-3-0 record and a perceived talent gap between the NFL and the AFL. The Colts were 18-point favorites. Nonetheless, Jets quarterback Joe Namath brashly guaranteed a Jets victory 3 days before. Unbelievably, the Jets led 16-0 before the Colts finally scored late in the fourth quarter. Matt Snell scored a TD and Jim Turner kicked 3 field goals. Many still consider this game as the biggest upset in pro football history. Many NFL fans across the country, especially in Baltimore, shouted the same 3 words as the game ended: Mother of God. Till Friday, be a good sport and stay loose.
Good evening, everyone, and here's tonight's social news. First tonight, the Greater Hazleton Chamber of Commerce will be holding the start of their legislative series with a red carpet breakfast featuring Hazleton Mayor Jeff Cassat. The event will be held Tuesday, January 24th at the Pines Eatery and Spirits located on Broad Street. The program begins at 7:45, concludes at 9. Cost is $20 for chamber members and $25 for non-members. For info, just call 570-455-1509. Our next announcement: kindergarten registration in the Hazleton Area School District for the 2017-2018 school year will be held in the Administration Building by appointment only from 3:30 to 6:30 p.m. on the following days for each individual school. February 6th, Drums, 7th, Freeland, 8th, West Hazleton, 9th, Hazel Township, 13th, Valley, 14th, Arthur Street, 16th, McAdoo Clares, and 22nd Heights Terrace. To schedule an appointment or for information, just call 570-459-3111, extension 3000. And finally, Christ Lutheran Church in Cunningham will be holding their annual Super Bowl soup sale Saturday, January 28th. We'll have 14 varieties of soup available, and proceeds benefit local charities. For info, just call 570-788-4219. That's tonight's Talk of the Town. SSPTV News would like to send sincere condolences to the family and friends of these recently departed. Joseph F. Salkowski Sr., formerly of Hazleton. Memorial is Saturday at 2 p.m. at the Harmon Funeral Home. Friends may call Saturday from noon to 2 p.m. Florence A. Coons, formerly of Olay Valley. Graveside services are Wednesday at 11 a.m. in the Laurel Cemetery. Arrangements are under the direction of the Cotterell Petrilli Funeral Home. Martha Perchak of Hazel Township. Arrangements will be announced by the Joseph B. Conahan Funeral Home. And Marlene M. McCula of Hazleton. Funeral is Tuesday at 10 a.m. in the parish of St. Cyril Methodius at the St. Joseph's Church. Friends may call Tuesday from 9 to 10 a.m. Arrangements are under the direction of the Frank J. Bonin Funeral Home.
Thank you for watching tonight. We'll be back here tomorrow.